not sure what time the 10 o'clock meeting is supposed to start.
Oh,
I guess we can go ahead.
I guess it would be my first problem. Your causation.
For those I haven't met before, my name's Randy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And today our Sam, who normally is the president of this, had to go out of town this weekend. And I think the main speaker is not here yet, so I don't know if he's coming or not, but I brought a couple of videos as fillers if he failed to show up. So we've got plenty to do. I brought three. I'll give you a choice of which one to watch. They're all three really good. Can you hear Woody?
Now I can.
Turn your hearing aid up. At any rate, welcome. Sam gave me a few things to mention. Start with kicking off. He was looking into buying some paraphernalia for the chapter in the form of T-shirts or caps, and he sent me a couple of items on email. Come on in, stranger.
Good morning.
He wanted some ideas from you guys on what you might like, and he had talked to someone who does these embroidery on caps and screen printing on shirts and caps and so forth. He didn't give any estimates on the cost of these things, so he'll have to bring that up when he comes back. But he did send a couple of photographs, and he was talking about these T-shirts. Here's some T-shirts that he's got. Give you an idea of some of the shirts he had in mind. They're just standard T-shirts, with the exception of this particular shirt. It's a knit shirt. But he was curious as to what you might like as far as ornamentation on there. And on the shirts, it would be screen printed. On the caps, probably embroidered. But one of the things he was talking about on the shirts was an EAA emblem, less the Spirit of Aviation down there, just the logo here with EAA, like on the back of the shirt. And maybe the logo that's on the cap, that this logo right here, that Paul and Danny use for the airport, and they said that we could use that for the EAA chapter too if we wanted. Now I'm going to pass these out and let you look at them. These are just, this is an idea that he had maybe to put on one side of it, the chapter number and so forth. But you can look these over and just get an idea. And to hand these things out, he just, some ideas he had, and some things he found out, looked that over. In the next meeting, when he's back, we'll go into a little bit more detail, and you can give him some ideas that you've come up with as far as what you think would be best for logos. And there's any number of designs on caps. This is one that we own the airport. This is a Lake Ridge cap that we had, and I think this is embroidered on the front, and then on the back we had when the airport was first established, when it was built. But there's any number of designs you can have on caps and on shirts. And Woody Woodall brought this. His wife Mary has a list of people that are wanted to hand this out, and check your name if your name is on here, and make sure that the email address is correct. And these are two of the caps that were in the photos. This is one idea they had. that Danny and Paul for the airport, they had these for summer hats. That have the net on the back of it, a little bit cooler in the summertime. And then this is the cap that the photograph that's going around is on the side. And he was talking about just, that's a little bit busy, and we were talking about just putting the EAA chapter number on the side over here. Pass those around.
I believe he mentioned pricing in the email. for
I
the-
didn't see
for the
those.
caps.
It depends on which way we, what we have screen printed.
Yeah.
Embroidery is more expensive than screen printing is. And we're talking about screen printing the shirts and embroidering the hats. Embroidery looks a lot better, but again, it's,
Yeah.
here comes Stephen now. So look those over, and any ideas you come up with, you can pass along. And Stephen just walked in, and he's going to talk about the event that's coming up for the Scouts and the Aviation Merit Badge. And I think you had a EAA video that you downloaded.
I do, yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry I'm late, everybody. Had an appointment.
We're keeping count.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Deducted from my pay. What a great turnout.
Not a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Round down. Still good.
And just to kill a little time while Steve's getting ready, in case we need to have a filler here, there's 3 videos I brought. One of them is some guys landing airplanes on gravel bars and sandbars in rivers, short, in and out of short strips. Another one is on Kermit Weeks' collection of airplanes down in Florida. He has probably the largest private collection of airplanes in the world. And this other one is also another Kermit Weeks video, but they're all very good. So if we need to fill up some time, I would recommend either the one with short field takeoff and landings or Kermit Weeks' collection.
Kermit's question.
As a side note, I just saw an email from Weeks, and his place is open 3 days a week for 4 hours a day. Not sure what days of the week they are.
Oh, really?
So-
That's short.
If you find yourself in Florida, time it right.
Okay. I think I've got. Let's see if when's everything to work. Hey! Look at that. Alright, so this will be the chapter video magazine for the month of June. And once this is done, looks like it's a 7-minute video, so we can watch that. Then when this is done, I've got some Young Eagles. Today actually is Young Eagles Day for the year 2025. So happy Young Eagles Day to everybody. So this worked out well timing-wise. We'll cover the upcoming scouting events, some other plans for the summer, and kind of just review some of the materials and processes we have with Young Eagles to make use of this year. All right, I'm going to delay this. It's not great audio, is it?
Welcome to this month's chapter.
You all hear that okay in the back?
I'm Charlie Becker, Director of Chapters and Communities here at EAA.
Better.
So I got some big news. You might have already caught it, but we have donated our 2022 One Week Wonder. It was a Sonics YX. We've donated that to the National Air and Space Museum. It is now on display at the Stephen F. Ubdar Hazy Center in the Sport Aviation section. So the next time you get a chance to visit that museum, you'll be seeing a representative EAA right there on the floor. Just as a reminder, this is an aircraft that we built in 1 week at AirVenture in 2022. We had over 2,200 volunteers at least pull a rivet on the aircraft. All their names are on the wings. So if you're one of those 2,200 people that helped, your name is now on an aircraft in the National Air and Space Museum collection, which is pretty cool. aircraft, and it just looks awesome. It really pops, stands out. You know, even though it's a small aircraft surrounded by huge aircraft like a Concorde, it still looks really great with that paint scheme. That was one of the things that attracted them. They had approached us about a year and a half ago to donate the aircraft, and they love the fact that, you know, the paint scheme, they love the fact that so many people were involved, and it really shows off the can-do spirit of EA members. So it's going to be a great story to tell, and it's going to be visible to so many more people as a result of being in that museum, because it is one of, if not the, it's one of the top museums in the world as far as foot traffic. So I couldn't be prouder to have one of the EA built aircraft as part of their collection. Now looking over the Young Eagles front, of course we have International Young Eagles Day coming up this month on June 14th. But I wanted to mention we've recently added the new aviation handbook. It's an AeroEducate handbook, and when you order your supplies, you'll be getting this along with your other Young Eagle supplies. And it's kind of a follow-on piece that the Young Eagle can take back home and discover more about aviation. We've had some really good feedback on it so far. We introduced it last year at AirVenture, and it was such a big hit, we thought, you know, there's got to be a way to get this out to more chapters. And fortunately, it's been sponsored by the Green Bay Austin Straubel Airport. So a big thanks to them for helping make this possible. So I think you'll be very impressed with it when you get your next batch of Young Eagle supplies. It's been that piece that a lot of people have been asking for. Also, I wanted to bring you a big update on the Young Eagles front at AirVenture. So we always do our Young Eagles dinner on Tuesday evening in the Founders Wing. Unfortunately, it fills up very fast. So we felt like we weren't doing enough to recognize our volunteers. So we've added a breakfast this year on Tuesday morning. So you'll only be able to go to one of those events because we're trying to open it up to get more of our volunteers an opportunity to attend. And so this is the best thing that we could come up with. There will be a sign up going out in the first week of June, so make sure you keep an eye on it. I would expect that both events will fill up, so keep your eyes on that and sign up right away, don't put it off. On the chapters at AirVenture front, reminder that we're gonna have our group photo on Tuesday at 9 a.m. at the Brown Arch. We really wanna see as many chapter members out there as we can. You can bring some banners, some other gear. That's great. It always is a fun time. It only takes about 15, 20 minutes max, and then you can go on your way for the rest of the day. So we hope that you'll be there for that. Also, if your chapter hasn't brought one of the directional signs to point to your chapter, you know, there's still plenty of time to make one. Just bring it with you. We'll put it right up. Just show up at the Blue Barn, and we'll mount it on one of the poles right when you get there. So we'd really love to see every chapter have one of those up there. And if you're really ambitious, you can build an Adirondack chair and bring it as well and donate it to us. We'll put it in the Blue Barn, and there'll be a place for people, a chair for people to use while they're looking through the Blue Barn and maybe just want to get off their feet for a few minutes. Also in the Blue Barn, we'll have all of our programs, our forums like we always do. We're going to have Patty Arthur there, so if you have a tax issue that you want to talk through with a knowledgeable person, she'll be doing 1-hour blocks of consultation to help you sort through those things. Also, we could still use some more volunteers at the Blue Barn, especially later in the week. We've got pretty good coverage in the front of the week, but this second half of the week, or the later part of the week, it's getting a little thin. So if you'd love to volunteer, we would appreciate it. On the overall AirVenture news fronts, I did want to share that we are going to have the Fly to the Cats back. So this is one of those only in Oshkosh moments. We're going to have a Wildcat, Hellcat, Tiger Cat, and Bearcat all flying together. So that's like pretty cool. Also, a reminder, the campground, believe it or not, opens June 27th. It's a Friday. There is a weekend work party that weekend as well. So there'll be people queuing up to get their favorite spot in the campground. You know, it's just shows you how much people love camping at AirVenture. Also on the Camp Scholler front, a reminder that Elm Street was renamed Rutan Way in honor of Bert and Dick last year. So you're going to see that on the map this year. So don't be confused. It's Rutan left-hand way is replacing Elm as far as the naming goes. Also, another thing I just thought was kind of interesting, we have 3,200 flower plugs that we have planted and matured, and they're gonna be replanted on the grounds to help beautify them. Our grounds people do a great job along with our volunteers, making the grounds really look great for that 1 week out of every year where we celebrate aviation here at AirVenture. Also, if you're gonna be flying in, they have released the mass arrival schedule, so it's typically on the Saturday and Sunday. Make sure you keep that in mind when you're planning your flight. And of course, we'll do a webinar on flying in AirVenture if you want to get the latest and greatest. That'll be in July. And of course, make sure you get the note on if you're going to fly in as well. So, thank you for all that you're doing out in the field.
Sorry for the audio.
I'm gonna make one quick announcement because in that video they talk about the flying cats. The museum that has all of those planes is in Kalamazoo, Michigan, called the zoo, I think it's a zoo or something.
Okay.
And including the Grumman that they took out of Lake Michigan a number of years ago. So that plane is there, it's been restored by a bunch of high school kids. So if you find yourself up along I-90, stop in Kalamazoo and go to that museum, it's well worth it. They got a lot of neat stuff there.
That's fantastic. I would not have thought that. Would not have guessed that Kalamazoo is where those are.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Is anyone here going to AirVenture this year?
Yeah, I'm gonna be there for 4 days.
You're going
Or
for 4
3
days.
yeah.
You're going. Like flying.
No.
You're flying. Okay, awesome, cool.
Before you get started, is anyone here for the first time?
Right here.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks.
Right.
Enjoy the pastries. I figured I'll do that if you don't enjoy my landings. I said, enjoy the pastries. I said, that's just so you don't judge my landings.
I take it you arrived in the Carbon Cup.
No, I actually got the 170 back there, in the back row.
Ah, gotcha. Awesome. Thanks for coming.
And who came in with the amphib?
Yeah. Do we,
Where'd it go?
you know, dog. Okay, left for the dog. Okay. All right.
He has a shirt that says seaplane on there, so I thought it was.
You said Marcus is full. Okay. Well, thanks everyone again for your patience today, and my apologies for my tardiness. But as we mentioned, today is Young Eagles Day, so this is kind of I call these slides the sort of State of the Union. It's the State of the EAA 879 Young Eagles program. Appropriate for Young Eagles Day to kind of talk about where we are, where we're going, and just make sure that everyone's aware of the resources that we have as a chapter to support the Eagles. So that's the plan for the rest of our meeting, if that's agreeable to everybody. We have 30 minutes to get through all this. I probably won't get through everything, but I'll do the best I can, and then we can continue our conversations afterwards. And I'm always available for folks to reach out individually. So again, happy Eagles Day. The agenda, we're going to do a year-to-date review of what we've done. That will be short. Then we'll do a preview of our forward plan for the back half of this year, and then we'll do an intro, if we have time, to the new eaachapters.org website, which is, I think, a really cool tool that EAA has put together, both to make individual Young Eagle flights a lot easier, but also they'll make our rallies that we may plan later this year easier to run. It's an improvement. Those of you who've worked on the administrative side of previous rallies may have used the Young Eagles Day website, which was a nightmare. And this is a significant improvement over that, which is good. So real quick, everyone here, does anyone here know what Young Eagles is? Is anybody new to the program? Okay, I can give a very quick overview. Free airplane rides for youth aged 8 to 17. Their requirements on, this is straight from the website, requirements that are to be a pilot. Basically, it's EAA member. You need to have $100,000 per seat of liability coverage, and then you also take a background, youth protection training and a background check that EAA provides through their website. Those are the high levels. There's some more details in there. But we, as an EAA chapter, have an Eagles program. It's been pretty quiet this year. To my knowledge, we have not had any formal Young Eagles activities this year. We receive flight requests all the time. They come in through, there's a portal on the website where folks can just search by zip code, and if they find it, they put their information and it comes to me. So I'm tracking currently 11 open flight requests for this year. I've seen some activity, people reaching out, and we have a spreadsheet, we track them all. It's like some folks are trying to schedule flights, but nothing has been scheduled yet, to my knowledge. And if flights have happened I don't know about, please let me know. I mean, I don't have to know, it's just nice to keep track of, but I'm not aware of any that have happened so far this year. And there are external factors. Maintenance is the ever-present one. I know I've been waiting on my plane to come back up for a little while. It's had some gremlins we've been working on. Weather, should we make our planes seaplanes and just all be amphibs now? I don't know. It's been so wet. And then also organizationally, I definitely, it's been a slower start to the year than I had hoped for. Say what?
I think you should do that.
Given how wet it's been, I think I probably should just put it on floats and move from there. But that would then compound the
Get
first
your
month.
rating, then you'll see how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Whole
Anyway.
different attitude.
So we're here in the middle of 2025. So as we kind of look the past behind us, looking ahead to the rest of the year, and trying to put a little more structure and a little more framework around the Eagles program to make it easier for folks to participate, and also kind of get some events on the calendar that we can all work towards. So with that being said, there are 3 events in the planning stages right now for Eagles for the back half of the year. First, and this is kind of late breaking, planning some summer, I'm calling them micro rallies. I'll explain more what those are, but the idea is to kind of find a minimum viable activity that gets Young Eagles flown. And if it's one pilot flying Young Eagles, fine. The view that headquarters takes is they would much rather us do the paperwork, call something a rally, and it should be one person flying Young Eagles than to not do it. It only helps everybody to put those formalities in place. And I think we can streamline our side of it to make that more accessible. And then if 2 or 3 of us show up to fly Eagles, great, what a fun day that would be. And we get to all hang out. So we'll talk about that. I've got some dates in mind. Randy mentioned the Scouts Aviation Merit Badge activity coming up at Oxford Henderson in September. So we'll talk about that. And then what we're gonna try to do this year is to follow that up with a fall rally at Oxford Henderson. And the idea would be that this is not, as we discussed before, there are challenges both from the EAA side and from the scouting side at working together to fly Young Eagles. So our compromise solution this year is this event is a scouting event at which we as EAA are going to all go together and volunteer. It's not an EAA event. This is an EAA event that we will let the scouts know about, and if their parents are interested, they will be able to sign up individually to join us for that event. So it keeps the organizational lines clear, gives us some space, and just for those of y'all who were at the Merit Badge Day last year, trying to fly students on that day, I think would have been a disaster. There was just too much else going on. Adding flights on top of that, I think, would have been very difficult. But on a separate day, I think it will be a much more streamlined process. So that's the outline of what we're going to chat through over the next few minutes.
Do you plan on that being back to back in September?
Right now, they're separated by a week. So one is
Yeah,
the 14th.
that's what I mean.
Yeah. Close, but not too close is the goal. And we may have to push. I'm definitely more open. This date is set pretty much in stone at this point. This date I'm open to pushing if we need to push it. If we need more time to get ourselves organized.
The Merit Badge Day is not subject to weather, is it?
It is. I'll
Yeah.
let Bob address that.
I'm Bob Holtaway, and I work the coordination between the chapter, the airport, and the Scouts. My daughter's Scoutmaster for the Boy Scouts, and which is now Scouting America. And I'm based at Hotel November Zulu, and left the end off. The date.
Too late at night, I wrote
The
these
date
slides.
is the 13th of September, is the date that the Scouts we've negotiated. And the airport's clear, the Scouts are good, and we're hoping everybody here is good.
Do you need
The Scouts?
volunteers from us?
Oh, yes.
For both projects?
Both days, and
I'll talk through all of that in just a
Yeah.
few minutes.
the Scout opinion is they do everything in the rain. If it rains, they don't care. The only restriction they have is thunderstorms during the event. So the only thing that would push it to the rain date of Sunday would be thunderstorms during the time, forecast thunderstorms during the time of the event. Now, they are out in the open field next to the airport. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Hotel November Zulu, and their intents and everything else, but that's their schedule right now. So 13th, 14th, please book it on your calendars, and because we need a lot of help.
Yes, sir. We
More
do.
so this year than last year.
Yes, sir.
And we did run this last year. It was very, very successful. The Scouts were very, very happy with the results. They think their sign up this year is going to be even a little more. We had 65 last year. They're opening up to 65, and working, they're looking at 3 groups of 25 working through the station over the course of the day. So it worked pretty well last year. Well, biggest problem we had last year was put everybody in one place at one time. We're not gonna do that anymore. So, thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Bob. And it's really, this is our second year doing it. So first off, thanks to Bob and Scouts for inviting us back, that it worked and they want to do it again. In my experience, it was a fantastic day. We had a bunch of Scouts, a bunch of parents were there as well. And I think one of the things that we often don't think about when we're doing our aviation outreach is that we're reaching out to youth. Their parents are also a really important audience to show that we're professional, we conduct ourselves in a safety-minded manner, and a lot of parents were there to see and experience what we were doing as well. And that's a really great kind of two-channel approach to how we communicate about aviation to folks who are new coming into that field. As Bob mentioned, last year, the way that Aviation Merit Badge breaks down, there's basically some kind of talking head moments where we have someone, Gareth and I handled that last year. We presented lecture-style conversations, and that was, I think, really well. It was tough because we were in a T hangar that was echoey and hot and shadowy, and then it was wet, and then the projector didn't work, and so there were some challenges, but we got it done. Then they also do a glider build fly test that's required for the merit badge. They have to pre-flight or do a demonstration of a pre-flight of an aircraft, and there is, I think that's it as far as how we break the stations down. So those are the 3 things they have to go do. This year, as Bob mentioned, one of the biggest feedback items from our debrief last year was that we need more kind of broken down stations, so we're not going to have that one kind of lecture session all day long. We'll have some different breakouts, and we're going to organize it differently. That I think will make things even more streamlined.
And by the way, those photos were from the pre-flight section, and the kids they said the favorite part of their day was being able to sit in an airplane.
Yes.
I let them, that's my motor glider on the lower right, and one of the crews I had, and
which we will allow time for this year.
yeah,
We did
I
not,
mean,
it
was
surprised,
not in
it
the
took us by
schedule last
surprise.
year.
Yeah, it was not in the schedule,
but boom, they loved it.
oh, they really did. So, a couple things we need. Lots of help needed, as Bob mentioned. The first thing is because we have several stations running concurrently, we need volunteers who will agree to kind of own one of those stations, and agree to kind of, Gareth and I handled the lecture. I'm trying to remember who did it. Bob, you were leading pre-flight, I think, right?
Yeah,
I think you were leading pre-flight, and then someone else was leading glider. Something was.
I was in gliders,
You were
but I was
in
in
gliders.
leaders, I can't tell it.
Names are so. It feels like it was so long, but it really wasn't. But so many people come to own those activities. So there'll be some kind of planning responsibilities. We'll have some phone meetings or Zoom meetings beforehand just to get ourselves organized. We have all of our materials from last year. We have all the content. It's a setup event, but there'll still be some adjustment to make improvements over last year. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to me. Email address is here. It's on the chapter website, I think. Frank, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
Come find me.
Yeah,
Get a hold of me
it's on the
somehow.
chapter website.
Perfect. Get a hold of me, email me, and we'd love to get you involved. We'll probably start the planning this month or next month to make sure we're ready in time for September. And it won't be, I'd expect, an hour or 2 a month probably of like meetings and places. Not a huge commitment, but more so than just showing up on the day. We also need lots of volunteers who are willing to show up on the day and be many hands to make light work. I think we had close to 20 individuals last year volunteer, and that was probably the right number. We may have had a few folks who got bored at some moments. Folks can speak to their experience, so I think this year we'll use folks a little more efficiently, but it's probably about 20 people on the day of to make it work. And that includes helping at the different stations, that includes just kind of being safety monitors. The airport's gracious enough to host us. We want to make sure that we're good guests and that we, as the aviation experts in the room, make sure the scouts are kept safe and are making wise choices. We also had a great simulator activity. That's not required by the merit badge, but we were able to offer it last year. We can just, again,
That was very busy last year.
Yeah,
super busy. It's
yeah.
super cool. They love it. If we're able to do it again, I think we totally should, but that's a conversation to have, as we kind of get the planning going. And then finally, if folks are willing and able to fly their aircraft up, either just for stack display, having more airplanes for folks to look at. The ramp last year was pretty empty,
Yeah.
so having some planes that we could stack display for the students was great. But also, if you're willing to be involved, if you can do that and be involved in the pre-flight activity, that's a great chance to get kids up close to your airplane. I think we'll build time in to have them get some more hands-on and touch it, sit in it, get that experience. we will need some. We had 3 last year. We had the motor glider, we had a 182,
Garrett's airplane.
and Garrett, yeah, which is great. So we cover the, 3 is a great number if we have 4 or 5. And if we have more, if the weather's nice and we all fly up there, that's great too. We can always just park airplanes.
Having a few more airplanes for that would be handy because you got a batch of like 12 or 14 kids.
It'll be smaller this year, a little bit smaller.
Yeah,
We'll
let's
we'll manage it better.
break it down into smaller pieces to bite off. It'll be a lot easier
And we'll
for
have more
everybody.
time, a lot more time. Anyway, so that's what's needed. 13th to 14th. What I would say is if you can only make one of those dates, that's fine. We can still use you for that day. So don't let that throw you off. I know I've got commitments on Sundays, so I'll be coordinating some of that. So like, we all have kind of various schedules. If you can only do one day, we can still use your help. We'll use you on that day, it'd be great. And if you make both days, even better. So yeah, that's Merit Badge Day. It's gonna be a ton of fun. Please do sign up. And last comment on this. Probably next month, once I kind of hear from our activity and once I can get a core team put together, I'll send out a sign-up sheet again to have volunteers sign up. And last, you just send a Google sheet around, you just fill your name out and your contact info, and use that to kind of get everybody on board. But would love for folks who are interested in kind of having a larger role, please reach out to me over email and kind of get the ball rolling. Okay, micro rallies. So that's September. So we've got 3 months between now and then. Over those 3 months, I personally would like to fly some Eagles. And so I got to thinking, it'd be easier for me if rather than having to email a bunch of Eagles, if I had a day that would get picked, where they could just sign up and come and I could fly them. That starts to become a rally, but it's a very different rally than we think of with, tons of airplanes and a big activity and, lectures and demos and ground volunteers. It's just a little more organization wrapped around individual Eagles flights. So I've pitched this idea now, both to Paul and Danny, they're on board with it, and I'm now pitching it to y'all here. I'm calling them micro rallies because the goal really is to find kind of the minimum viable event that we can use to fly Young Eagles. So kind of streamline it, cut it down to the bare minimum so it's easier to do. We've got some notional dates. One is 2 weeks from now, 6/28, then 7/19 and 8/16. So those are kind of notional target dates. That 6/28 date, that is pending EAA HQ sign off. That's a shorter turnaround. They usually request to approve a rally. I suspect they still will, but I need to run that by them before that is official.
So Stephen, we have to have the insurance for a micro, for what you're thinking of doing, it qualifies as insurance?
We likely would not, well, it depends. So if any individual gives more than 6 Eagle flights in a day, or if you have, I believe it's more than 2 pilots flying, or if you've got more than, I think it's 1 or 2 kids waiting on the ground, then by default, EA considers it a rally. Truthfully, if it's just me out here giving rides in the PA-12, I probably wouldn't exceed that threshold. But the goal of this is to kind of experiment with getting the insurance in place, doing the procedural components, and then doing the bare minimum of what's required to make that, safe and consistent, but then leaving it up to the individual pilots to manage their flights and the loading and unloading. We would have scheduled time slots during the day. That's a new feature that we can put into our rally software really easily, where basically when the sign up happens, there will be, if you want to do 4 flights in the morning and 3 in the afternoon, or if you only can be here for the morning, we only open up the slots that anybody wants to fly for. And when our youth sign up, they will sign up for a specific slot. And when that slot's full, it's full. And we can discuss doing a wait list. I probably won't for these first couple. So if it's me flying the PA-12 by myself out here, which is, I'm totally fine with that. It's just to keep me accountable to actually do some flights this year. That's great. And I'll have probably 6 open slots. I wouldn't technically have to do the insurance piece, like you're saying, Rick, but EA also is fine with us doing it even when we don't have to. They would rather us do it more often than they're never going to wave their finger at us doing it when we didn't technically have to. So that would still cover us. So that's the goal of these. Those are the notional dates. I would love, let's see, my next chart here. The goal is keep it simple. No additional programming, no flight sims, no ground programs. The goal is not to have them hang out here all day like we've done in the past. The videos come, fly, and really just make it more efficient for us as individual pilots to do our Eagles flights together. And also maybe kind of fun to have a couple of folks here at the airport doing flights with you. It's always great to see folks out here flying. I always have a better time when there's more people out here at the airport flying than just me.
You want to make sure that, I'm sure you are doing it, but anybody who wants to fly Young Eagles, just make sure you go through that procedure on the website.
Yes, exactly, and that, another perk of the rally is that we will, to include people in that, if we set it up logistically, even just, you know, even Garrett flying people or something, various two of us, we would still have to go through that software process, which tracks all of that compliance, which is nice. Then all your I's are dotted, all your T's are crossed, and we know that everyone was legit, and that's just reassuring. Yeah, keep it manageable. We will plan to have we'll be asking for 1 or 2 volunteers to help, just with registration, just to kind of run the printer.
You gotta have at least 1 or 2 people handling that paperwork,
Exactly.
forms that they fill out.
But like, we wouldn't have, you know, ground marshals, we wouldn't have additional
Yeah,
safety
you wouldn't.
personnel. We just keep it real simple. And then-
Paperwork and 1 person to guide the people out to the plane, help get in.
Exactly.
Because a lot of times you want, if you're processing them fast enough, you might not want to even shut down. Pop,
Yeah.
kick 1 kid out, kick the other one in, go again, you know.
When-
It's nice to have a ground person handling the kid.
And part of this is we would intentionally keep the load low enough that we wouldn't have to, it's like, you would only do like 1 flight an hour.
Yeah.
Keep it very manageable, keep it very easy, so we're not pushing the limits of that. That's coming in the fall, don't worry. Yes,
When
Phil.
you're talking about these requirements, I'm just curious, because I'm not, for, getting the insurance requirements on. If you're just doing Young Eagles 1 at a time, like we have been doing.
Yeah.
That doesn't, no change there, you just keep.
No change. So if you're doing an individual Eagles flight, as long as they have filled out this registration form and signed the liability waiver, the EAA policy covers you. The difference is when you start to put multiple, and the reason they have those limits of like no more than 6 flights in a day, no more than I think 1 kid waiting, you can imagine an enterprising and well-intentioned individual could be like, well, I want to fly a bunch of Eagles today. Let me post on Facebook that, hey, I'm doing an Eagles flights just by myself. It's an individual Eagles flight. You got 20 parents with their kids waiting outside. You're flying every 30 minutes.
So what is,
that's what they're trying to guard
what
against.
are the restrictions? So what the restrictions are, how many a day? 6?
I can get the exact numbers. I won't say it's roughly, I didn't put them in this
Because
presentation.
I just went through the recurrent training,
Yeah,
none of that popped up.
It's unlikely to trigger. It's, I believe it is 6 flights a day for the individual. That I think is new. I need to confirm that. It's also more than I believe 2 pilots at the same time. Like, coordinate. Yeah. If you have, I think it's like 3 or some number of kids waiting on the ground. You know, you have a line of people waiting to fly with you. They argue that's now no longer a one-on-one flight. That's an event that you've organized. It's legalese. For most of, if you're doing individual Eagle flights, you are unlikely to step in that at all. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'll find those requirements, Phil, and give them to you. I didn't put them in this presentation because I just forgot. But great questions. Okay, so those are coming up. Those are our notional dates. I will email all these dates out after this meeting on the mailing list. You'll have all of this. Take a look. If you're one of our Eagles pilots or you're interested in being one, look at those dates. Shoot me some feedback. If a different weekend would work better, those are not set in stone, and we can move them around. The June one we can't really move because we're just out of weeks in June, so that one's kind of set. But the July and August we can just flip around. Just let me know. Yeah.
Got a question, does KISS really mean keep it simple, silly?
It does
You
not.
gotta tell a joke when you give
I was trying to just avoid any polarizing language.
No, you gotta change that word silly.
Yeah, it's not usually silly. You never know what kind of audience we're gonna have today. So we'll be very careful. Okay, so feedback requested. Reach out. Let me know if you're interested in flying. If you're interested in participating in that. If you're interested in volunteering for that kind of very lean ground team, printing certificates, handling registration, and then those dates, if those work or if there's really all those are bad. And again, if it's just me out here flying, I'm also fine with that outcome. My personal goal is to fly some more Eagles this year, and this will help hold me accountable. So. Okay. Questions on micro rallies. And if this if this works, this may lay some groundwork. Other chapters in our area do things like monthly rallies, which I have to believe are this kind of very small scale thing. We've had discussion trying to do flights after meetings on our second Saturdays, do an afternoon session. So if we can have pathfind these really lean, mean, simple rally events, then we can set them up so that we're compliant with the regulations and again, still have 1 or 2 pilots out flying and make that really straightforward and easy. So it's kind of a test to see if this works. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, we won't do it again. And that's okay. All right, we've got 10 minutes left to talk about the big rally.
I got
Please, Frank.
one thing I want to mention with the Rallies and Young Eagles, the chapter earns $5. It's $5
Yes,
for each flight.
that's correct.
So yeah, just wanted to
And actually, we had some expiring credits that actually bought us a chapter printer. So we now have like a nice portable wireless printer that we'll be able to use for our next events, which is still in my house. I should bring that in here. I'm still in the box actually. I don't have to make sure it works. Which is great, because last year we had someone had brought their printer from home, and it's just a big mess. We'll have one here that we'll be able to use for future rallies. It should be great. It's very like lean and compact, and it looks really cool. So,
Can
yeah,
you do
thank
these
you.
rallies in various airports?
The micro rallies will all be here, and if we cancel for weather, we just cancel. It's like any other flying day. If it feels wet or the weather's bad, we say, hey, we're so sorry, this is aviation. We probably will only open them 1 month ahead, so we could give the folks we canceled on first dibs at the next month's slots.
So will the plan be for the online software with the EAA site, will it be a private event, meaning so it's not gonna be listed publicly? And we would provide those folks that have contacted and have their name on the list, give them the opportunity to do this first?
Yeah, it'll start private, and it's like, for example, the June rally, I'll kind of wait for today, and if I hear any urgent, like, hey, don't do it that day, or yes, do it that day. If I hear any urgent feedback on June, on Monday I'm gonna check with our HQ coordinator for Eagles and just see, hey, can we get a quick approval on this? It's a last minute thing. They've said they could in the past, I don't wanna presume. I'll check them on if they can. I will probably post that link early next week. It will have my flight slots on it. And if I start hearing from other people, I will add more. We'll start it private, and we'll advertise it to our list of 11 or 12 people who've reached out to us for flights. They'll get first dibs. If anybody, I'll share with the chapter. The chapter can then, if you have people you've been talking to you want to share with, great. Then if we're not full after a couple days, we'll open it up and post it publicly. So we'll kind of graduate it, and the same would happen for next month. We'd be private first. People who got canceled on before, if that isn't happening, and then 2 weeks out, we'd open it publicly to make sure our slots get filled. So, great question. Okay, our big rally, as I'm calling it, this is in the very earliest of planning stages, as in you now know the details that I am aware of, which is a target date and a concept. So it's very early, but our goal, like I said, is to follow up to our Merit Badge Day event, invite the parents of scouts to bring their youth out to have an Eagles flight experience. If that doesn't fill all of our slots and we get a great response, we can even open it up bigger than that. We'll start with the scouts first, they get first dibs, and then if we still have room, we can keep expanding it as large as we care to make it. This is more of our conventional route. We'll have ground staff, we'll have marshals, we may reach out to other EA chapters in the area that we've spoken with that are open to participating with us. So this will be a larger rally. More volunteers required, more pilots. Our goal, I think, is to have as many pilots as we can here. This is not one of the Keep It Simple rallies. And that's about as far as we've gotten in this. This is very much early in the planning stages. Our target day is the 27th. That may slip if it needs to slip. Ideally be close to membership. It doesn't have to be. It could be a month later, and we'll still have that communication with the scouts. That's the goal.
Doesn't Apex do something with a rally up at Oxford in the fall?
I believe they have in the past. My understanding is that last year
They didn't do it last year.
They didn't do it last year, and I don't know about this year.
And they have not contacted the airport for
Okay,
this year.
that was my so yeah, I don't think they will this year. So we may be able to invite some of those pilots to join us and fly with us. If they're used to that, that'd be great. But our plan is for us to host it. This would be kind of our first large scale. This rally would follow a similar process. We'd open it private first with scouts, and then after some amount of time, we'd say, okay, you've had your window. Now if we still have open seats, we'd open it broader and broader. We'd give the scouts the first
The way the scouts are looking at it, they would have a sign up for the kids that wanted to fly at the Merit Badge.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then what's gonna happen is probably all 75 kids are gonna sign up to fly.
Fantastic, yeah.
So you might have to have a lottery or something in order to trim it down.
Yeah,
We
we
go
can,
from there, but
and we can
that's-
also give it,
It'd be oversubscribed.
yeah,
not
which is
undersubscribed.
oversubscribed is great. That's fantastic. That's that. Again, my feedback on this one, I didn't put my last slide in here because I really forgot last night. Again, if you're interested in taking kind of a larger planning role, we'll need a couple volunteers to really own your ground operations or the registration side. This will be a little bit larger activity. So if that speaks to you, please reach out to me via email. Otherwise, I'll start coming and begging, which I'm not afraid to do. And we'll go from there. Yeah, Phil.
I got a question.
Please.
One point. When you get this formed up on the website, are you gonna invite, 1114, when they did the rallies at Henderson and other places, they invited our pilots to
Yes.
participate if one. I think if you ask them, any of their pilots wanna participate, from this rally that we're hosting, you may get a response there.
Yeah.
Get more pilots to be able, so the 75 is not an unreasonable number of kids to fly.
No, it's not, and that's exactly what we do.
93 was the last one we did.
Nice.
93 kids, the last one they had at
Down
Oxford.
there, yeah. And I think we'd easily, if we're doing 8 to 10 flights per plane per day, which I think is achievable, it only takes 7 or 8 planes, which you probably have 3 or 4 in the chapter, just in this room alone, get a couple more.
Get the count at Sanford, the last one we did at Sanford, that was, well, then 75 or 80 kids got home.
But I think it's doable. I think it is doable.
Plus I got a ride in the T-34.
That we should talk about. Okay, with my last 5 minutes, I will mention, just for individual flights, I wanted to show off a couple things. One is just the new Young Eagles Day, or EAAchapters.org website, which apparently I did not leave open, because I can't remember anything apparently. So if you go to EAAchapters.org, congratulations, you all have a login to this website. It is your EAA.org login, which is great. You don't have to make a new one, so you can go up here to log in and put in your credentials. You used to log into the EAA website. I believe they're all synced up now. There was a little bit of, when this first rolled out, that took a minute. So you can log in here, and the first thing, if the internet decides to cooperate, that you'll see is they've added all of us who are, you have a profile here. You can set that up. I'm gonna make it too slow for this. Your address, your information, you can put in your aircraft information here. So the aircraft type, the number of seats, passenger weight, I'm not entirely sure what that's supposed to mean. I don't know why mine says 3, it does. We all have an individual URL here, which when you're doing your one-on-one flights, you can use this unique URL and provide that to the parents of the youth you're preparing to fly for your individual flights outside of rallies, and they can register them there and print out their liability waiver there. So you ahead of time say, hey, here's the link, fill this out please. You would then see them populate here in your dashboard under individual pilot flights, and they actually has a link there, they click it, it prints the waiver out, already has all their stuff pre-populated on it, they sign it, give it to you, you send it back to headquarters afterwards to make sure things.
You mail it back in, you still mail it?
I believe if you print it, you still mail it.
Yeah.
For the rallies, we have an all electronic option, but for the for individual flights, to my knowledge, we do not have an all.
So the only
electronic
upgrade
option.
is that they just got to fill that out ahead of time?
Correct, yeah, exactly. So, but you can put it on them, not worry about yourself.
Yeah.
I will also say, for those of you who haven't, they also have a bunch of materials that you can get. If you need your own, there's a form on the website you can fill out. They will send you registration forms, the print version, front's the registration form, back's liability waiver. This is that thing that has to be signed for EAA's liability policy to kick in and provide that additional coverage over and beyond yours. So make sure you fill this out. They also have logbooks you can fill out with the flights if you're your Young Eagle in there, and they've got nice little return envelopes that they will send to you individually if you want your own. I have a set of like 10 that I got, certificates, all that stuff. We also, as a chapter, have a couple stashed in here, and I am totally fine with if you're doing a handful of flights and want to grab those. Let me know. If suddenly we're all doing 50 flights a year, we'll have to revisit that. But at our current flight rates, I have no problem with folks just kind of raiding our stash and pulling those. If you want to order something, they're free. They just send them to you in the mail, but feel free to reach out to us.
Just a little clarity, if the parent signs up through your private URL,
Yes.
and either you or them prints out the agreement, and they would sign that agreement in person, you don't have to do the hand printed version that you've been holding up, because it's the same thing.
Correct.
Except it's just electronic.
Precisely. So exactly. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So it's really much more convenient to have them go in, and I actually like it because it gives them a chance to kind of read about some of the waivers that they're agreeing
Yes.
to, ahead of time, instead of just asking them to read through all that fine print.
And people are so used to that format of having to read things on. It's just it's a really slick website. There is a tutorial. When I send out my email summary from today, I'll include the link. The tutorial is kind of buried. For the individual flights, it was buried multiple menus down. So I'll include the direct link to that. It's about 5 minutes long. It'll walk you through all the things that Rick just said, just show you how that works. It's super cool. I think that'll be really helpful. And then also, if you're a Young Eagles pilot with our chapter, please make sure that your profile is up to date in here, and that you you've got your membership square with Frank so that you're affiliated with our chapter. That just makes it easier as we're planning rallies. I can see more of you in there. I think right now I see like Rick and me, I think. That would last time I checked, so.
Well, the other thing too is just to make sure, you know, that you've got to take all the courses, the certification, working with kids courses, and you've got to submit to that background check and everything else. If you're
That takes, I think, about 2 weeks to come back
Yeah.
usually. So, anyways, we're at 11 o'clock, a little over, my apologies, thanks for hanging in there. I will go ahead and wrap up now, unless there are any dire questions. I'll also hang around for a few minutes afterwards, folks want to come chat with me. I'll get my email summary out of all this today. But thanks for everyone's time, and excited for a busier back half of 2025 for you guys in the front half.
Is there lunch out here today?
Well, we had initially planned to do that, but I found out a couple of days ago that the QBs had reserved picnic shelter for the day, so we had to cancel out on lunch. But there is a restaurant, Pizza Mia over on Cheek Road, not far from here, that a lot of Saturdays we'll go over there and get a bite of lunch. So anybody wants to do that, around here.
Yep, Bill.
What are we-
Oh, sorry, Frank.
Yeah, I wanna
Oh,
mention,
sorry.
I just wanna mention that, that for the rally, there's what's it called? It's something like you would have to volunteer. I didn't sleep last night, so I'm listening. But there's a volunteer sheet that well, you can go to the website, EEA website, and fill out a form, do the background check, even for the volunteers.
Yes.
I think there are a couple of positions that for the big rally, you have to have at least one or two.
Yeah, 2 deep at all times, yeah, so, and that, if we do the micros, that'd be true for those folks as well, but I believe that anyone can do that ground training.
Oh, yeah.
Even if they're not a member, I think they can do that.
It's on their website, and just go through it. It's just a background check. that
Yeah,
you're
it's very
working with.
straightforward.
Just the background check.
And the scouts needed it also, so,
Yeah, that's true.
and so did some of the other organizations.
It's good stuff, it's standard, but it's important that we're committed to making sure everyone's safe. As they do something, so. Awesome. Very good, thank you all. Enjoy the airport the rest of your day, and Pizza Mia, it sounds like, is happening, so if folks wanna proceed over there, that'd be great. Class dismissed, thank you.
Before everyone breaks up,
Oh, I lied, not quite dismissed.
Folks and Me is having the airport day at the airport again this year, the 18th of July. Bear's gonna be up there. You're welcome to come up and help out. We've asked Life Flight to be there again. That's always
Is that Saturday the 18th?
And it's Friday.
Friday, okay.
It's at 5 o'clock. We do it later in the day because that's when kids get off, get back from whatever schooling they're doing or so on. So it's a little bit late. If anyone needs to stay overnight, you're welcome to stay at my place. That's, you know, you can help out what we do with the kids. We usually demonstrate some things about airplanes. They last year helped build gliders for the kids, and we test them out. So if you're interested, let me know, and we'll make arrangements. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank Stephen for his presentation today. And does anybody have any further questions? Or we have a few more minutes if you want to leave for lunch now, or if you want me to show one of these videos. I'd be glad to do that. Does anybody have any preference? Or have you enjoyed all you can stand? I guess everybody wants to go eat.
Pizza Mia is calling.
You have anything to add?
No, that was all my points. I will say we can, my thought maybe we can do it today, but I think maybe better to do like we can record like a video training. And the EA ones are pretty good actually, but if folks have questions about eachapters.org, please touch myself, or if I can volunteer Rick as well.
Sure.
Reach out to one of us and we're happy to help you work through that. The tutorials are pretty good online. I'll send the link out to the individual map tutorial. So that's my last thought.
Well, I guess that's it. If anybody wants to go eat, it's the Pizza Mia restaurant at the Heritage on Cheek Road. It's only about 8 minutes from here, so if you're not not familiar with it. Thank everybody for coming.